lining up. A couple might be a couple of DNFs for the opening race and what promises to be a fantastic series. And joining us, we have Caleb Ngatai, top New Zealand motor racer from the Castrol Toyota Racing Series overseas, 2x2, the Rodin cars, Super GT, rolling start, 30-minute race with a compulsory pit stop. Green flag, we are racing. What a great sight. Caleb, how cool is that?
Oh man, it's awesome. The field out there, 26 cars, 30-minute race with a compulsory pit stop. It's going to be an interesting one. I can't wait to see how it plays out.
So it's all about the need for speed, but also the need for strategy as well. So we're going to start with a 10-minute sprint race. Then the pit window will open after 10 minutes. It'll close after 20 minutes. And then we finish with another 10-minute sprint race to the end. And the pit stop is all about the balance of performance. So it's what the term is a BOP. The faster cars will be held longer, and then the slower cars will have an advantage in the pits. They'll get out back onto the racetrack earlier, chance to go and sprint home for that checkered flag. So it's an early pit stop or a late pit stop? What do you reckon?
Oh, it honestly just depends on where you are on the track. Obviously, track position is going to be massive. So they're all, I can imagine, just a very, very fierce race to the start, as we see.
Gene Rollinson down the inside, a very experienced racer in the racer products, number 5 Porsche, and he makes the move around the hairpin, which we've already highlighted as one of the great passing opportunities here at Highlands. But now you've got to get it sliding and gliding through up in the over the rug of the bouncing over the bridge, keeping 2 wheels onto the track. That's the driving standard limits they're after, isn't it? What do you think?
Oh, I think you'll find some of them are getting 4 wheels off. I think definitely seen some photos. They're definitely humming over that bridge, so definitely leaving the ground for a split second.
Gene Rollinson, lots of experience in racing many different types of makes and models. Was going to have a crack at the TCR class. He's done the North Island Endurance Series, and what a great sight. Porsches, Ginettas, McLarens, swooping around in the sunshine here. Sensational scenes in the South Island. Glad you're joining us on the Speedworks Facebook page as we enjoy a brand new form of motor racing. They have 20-odd cars plus and all the GT glamour models. $15 million worth of machinery on display here. And you've got Porsches, 17 Porsches, so they will no doubt dominate the early racing. The McLarens will have a good battle. Watch out between Chromie and Todd Borden to see who's going to be the first of the GT4s. Then you've got the likes of Harrison and Helms out of the Race Lab team having their own Aston Martin sort of private battle. And then we were talking to number 58, watch out for him, as number 77, that is Shane Helms, one of the Golden Homes Aston Martins, just going a little bit wide. Here's more ducking and diving. Paul Kelly, he moves up into second, very experienced Porsche racer. Makes the move over 19, Shane Hodgson. No surprises there with Paul Kelly, PK. Another place to race and make that pass. So the Porsches really starting to dominate early on. Can Shane Hodgson come back and put the squeeze back on that car with the 997 GT3 Cup car, the Carter's car? So good racing as they sweep around. Connor Adam. There's the starting of the Ginettas and also the McLaren number 24, which is Nigel Cromie. He had issues with the door earlier in practice and qualifying. The door kept opening up, so we had to try and shut it a couple of times to come into the pits and get that sorted, which was very disconcerting and a huge distraction when you're trying to go fast.
Oh, definitely. Imagine coming into a corner and your door's trying to fly open. You can imagine it's been a massive distraction. I'm sure he probably tried to close it as well, and he's trying to go down straight. So, yeah, obviously, he's got that fixed now. He's got his head down. He's pushing hard, so it's good.
So we'll see exactly what's going to be happening now as they race through the opening parts of this big, long race. So it's all about, tactically, what would you do? I mean, you're just going to be settling in and getting nice little speed. There's a great shot of number 58, Steve Scholes in the Ginetta. It's a Mustang powered and 77 Shane Helms into the pits, and that's not part of the compulsory pit stop. That'll be a bit of a worry there for Shane. Disappointment?
Yeah, it looks like he's had something mechanically obviously go wrong there. So he's in the pits. Hopefully they can get it sorted and he can get back out later on and do some more laps.
getting up the long, one of the great straights, coming up towards the exit onto the out of the forest, up and over the bridge. Let's see what they get now. Smooth, fast, little two wheels onto the track. 148 Derek, 44 Todd Borden in the McLaren. So Nigel Cromie still 7th at the moment, so he's still leading the battle for GT4. Todd Borden is back in 9th place at the moment. But of course, it's all about just getting set up, getting in there and maintaining your early speed. So we may be able to try and find out from Greg Rust along pit lane about what's happened with Shane Helms in the number 77 Aston Martin. Further back down the field, good battle between more Porsches. 26. Lachlan Fitzgerald-Symes, who actually qualified on pole for the second race. He's made a move on Shane Hodgson in the Carter's car, coming around the carousel down towards the Sting.
It's going to be really interesting how these Porsches out the front determine the pit stop. Obviously they're so close, they're really battling it out at the just the first stage of this race. So it's going to be really interesting. Obviously strategy is going to play a big part up in the front because they're so close together. So
the other key thing to watch out for in this particular event is the fact there's another one of the cars in the pits, and that doesn't look like a early pit stop because the pit window doesn't actually open until 10 minutes. So,
oh, and we've got another position change for third place.
Hodgson coming back over Lachlan Fitzgerald-Symes, so he's regaining that spot.
And this is helping Connor Adam, obviously, as he's slowly starting to creep forward towards that third position. So this could turn into a three-car battle for third place here. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens.
So the pit lane window for the compulsory pit stop doesn't actually open for another 3 minutes. Connor Adam there. Simon will be watching along with Mum as well. Really had a great drive coming out of the 86s and moving into the Porsches, and always been close to and or on the podium in the Porsches since he made that switch.
Yeah, no, definitely. Connor was super fast in the 86 series. I know he had some good results there, obviously, and now moved into the Porsches. And he's doing an awesome job in an older car. So we'll see how the race plans on. I'm sure he'll be up there fighting for the podium spot.
Connor Adam around the carousel. Currently sitting in 5th place and circulating a fastest lap of a 1:39.5. So no doubt Greg Rust will keep us up with the play once the cars start coming through into the pit lane window, a 10-minute window, where they must make a pit stop. Remember, the faster cars will be held the longest, and then the slower cars will have the least amount of time in the pits. That will even it up for the sprint home to the finish. And the key thing here, though, and that's the hardest thing, is you want to try and really stay right onto your qualifying time, because if you go faster, then you're sandbagging. You know, if you're not, then you're going to be struggling.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, a lot of those guys at the moment, they are setting slower times in qualifying. I mean, it has heated up. And I'm sure the track temperature is a bit higher than it was this morning, but a lot of those guys out the front are setting really fast, consistent lap times. I think there's only less than a tenth separating the 5 of Gene Rollinson and 90 of Paul Kelly. So those guys are really, really close. So hopefully they can get a little bit closer together and we might have a really, really good fight there.
24, the McLaren of Nigel Cromie, coming out of the jet boats and doing a great job. Let's go down to Rusty, pit lane.
Clint, I've just had a word to the Race Lab crew here who look after Shane Helms in the Aston Martin. Now, the problem with that car when it came in before was a glitch of some kind, and they effectively had to do a reset on it. And it affected performance because not only was it just odd lights and things popping up on the electronic dash, it also affected the ABS on that car. They've reset it, as I said. They believe it's sorted. Fingers crossed for now for Shane Helms.
Golden Holmes car, the Aston Martin, one of the first ones to have a few technical gremlins. Great to have Rusty on board as we get ready for the pit lane window, because that's where this whole race is going to be turned upside down, as the Porsches still setting a really good speed out there. Gene Rollinson very experienced racer and a very smooth racer too, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's doing a wonderful job out front. Oh, here we go. We've got some lap cars in the way now, so this is obviously going to play a big part with how the lead is going. But yeah, no, Gene's sitting out there at the front. He's relaxed. He's just doing exactly what he needs to do. Is just bang out those consistent quick lap times. And just see where he goes from there. But he's pulled a nice gap. He's keeping that gap, so he's in a good position for it now.
So 19 minutes and 56 seconds to go. So the pit lane window is officially open, and it's open for the next 10 minutes to make their compulsory pit stop. Now this is part 2 of the race. The Rodin cars, GT, Super GT opening race at Highlands Motorsport Park, backed by the team at Gibson Valley Winery and the resort. Great to have them here supporting the cars this weekend. And it's going to be a guessing game now. Do you have an early pit stop? Do you have a late pit stop? And where do you position yourself amongst all the other drivers? How are you going to do that sort of battle of the strategy now? Connor Adam coming under the bridge around the carousel. 256 Ben Byers right behind him. And the Porsche's still dominating. One of the slower cars making room, one of the slower McLarens. And 24 Nigel Cromie coming under 991 Martin Dippy in the Mitre 10 car. Been doing a lot of fishing, straight out of the fishing. Now he's fishing for another place here on the track in the sunshine at Highlands Motorsport Park. Look at that, 1, 2, 3. Giving each other a bit of racing room, which is good, which is what you want to do in these sort of long distance races too.
Oh yes, the McLaren in the Mitre 10 car is doing an awesome job to get out of the way for these faster cars coming through, which just keeps the racing nice and close and tight for these guys up the front. As we've got the McLaren GT4 racing with a Porsche GT3 car here, which theoretically should be quite a lot faster. So he's doing an awesome job, number 24.
24 and Martin Dippy. Martin Dippy. Oh, just about kissed the wall.
Because I can't hear.
Nigel Cromie just about kissed the wall, so almost a bit of drama, but Rusty is back in action along pit lane. What's happening with the window, which is now open? Looks like the first car coming in, number 54. And that is David Cranner in the Prime Speed Sport McLaren 570S GT4 car. Let's go down to Greg Rust.
With Rob Williams, who's had a drama with the Porsche, and it sounds like it's gearbox related.
Yeah, it is, Rusty. Obviously missing third gear, it just seems to have dropped a cog there somewhere, and so coming over important parts of the track when we want to take a bit of speed off, there's no third gear, it's like going into neutral, so yeah, it's a bit of a major.
How early on did that start?
Oh, from the start when I went out, actually, it's making a bit of a noise. I didn't think too much of it at the time, but clearly we were trying to make a bit of headway, and yeah, that sort of restricted our progress a bit.
Hard luck.
Thanks.
Take it back to you, Clint. A lot happening here in the lane.
Yes, it's going to get very busy as the cars start coming in for their compulsory pit stop. Gene Rollinson circulating in a quick time of 1:38.7 his best lap, and his last lap a 1:38.7, so that's right on the pace, you know, finding that limit and sticking to it. Is 44, the McLaren of Todd Borden looks like he's done his compulsory pit stop, and he's back out now through the bus stop.
It's going to be interesting when Gene and Paul Kelly pit. I'm seeing if Paul's actually waiting for Gene to come in, and then maybe he'll follow him in and try and beat him during the pit stop. But see, they've still got some lap traffic, and they're so close together. Oh, and Paul Kelly's gone straight ahead of the chicane, and he's going to slot in just behind Gene again. So he's obviously given the position back, so he's done really well there. So it'll be interesting to see when these guys pit, if Gene's going to come in and Paul's going to try and do one more lap and create a gap, or if they're going to follow each other in and beat each other in the pit.
Well, Gene Rollinson's qualifying time was a 1:37.5. He's doing a 1:38.5, so he's very, very close to that qualifying time in race pace, which means he won't be pinged for going faster, because what they don't want is guys going slow and sandbagging in qualifying and then coming home really faster than what they did in qualifying at the end of the race.
Yeah, and as we see from that lap traffic, actually Shane Hodgson in the number 19 Porsche has caught up to these two front runners. So now it's going to be a three-way battle very, very soon. So it'll be interesting how these pit stops pan out, and we'll have another strong sprint towards the end. It looks like it's going to be very interesting.
Gene Rollinson in the battle of the white Porsches. Number 5 and 90, Paul Kelly bought that car, and there is Gene Rollinson peeling off and going into the pit, so Paul Kelly's going to stay out and take over the lead. He bought that car from Phillip Island after it was involved in quite a big crash. They spent about $260,000 rebuilding the car. He bought it for $280,000, so it's virtually set a brand new car and the fastest he's ever gone around here at Highlands. So he loves that car at the moment, and he loves being in the lead.
And seeing, obviously, you've got Gene and the other Porsche coming to the pits, so the only thing that Paul Kelly needs to do now is push as hard as he can, make this lap as fast as he can, hopefully get no lap traffic and just shoot into the lane, and then we'll see where he comes out at the end.
Let's go down to pit lane and Greg Rust and Rusty. Of course, it's a real battle of tactics as they got to hold, wait for their balance of performance, pit stop, and then get back out on track. And all the teams have to control it themselves under the watchful eye of Motorsport New Zealand.
So here's Paul Kelly. He's done a really good lap. He hasn't had too much traffic. So I would assume that Paul will come in on this lap and obviously serve his penalty stop time. And then it's going to be all on the last 10 minutes of the race.
So 13:47 to go. 13 minutes, 44 seconds to go. So remember,
Shane Hodgson is in the pit lane at the moment. This is Jimmy Hewlett, who's keeping an eye on the clock. We've got about 30 seconds left to go. The crew in this team tell me, thumbs up, all good for the Carter's Tyres entry right now. He's happy.
and Paul Kelly's coming in too, so getting all those leaders to get into pit lane. And other drivers have already done their pit stops and they're in here at the lead, and suddenly we're going to get ready for that big sprint home for the finish. We'll update the lead as they finish off those pit stops, because that pit lane window, remember, is going to close with 10 minutes to go, and there's only about, 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So there's Paul Kelly. He's been held up.
And Gene Rollinson's just come out of the pits with Shane Hodgson just behind him. So we'll keep a close eye on them and see where they end up outside the pit lane.
You going all right?
Suddenly, the whole thing is all about the pit lane window.
I'll bet you did.
So Connor Adam, number 9. He's starting to look like he's done his pit stop. Back out in front. Paul Kelly had the lead. He's been held up, so that will change. Rodin Fitzgerald Simons was actually in that white 92, so about 4 or 5 cars all doing their compulsory pit stop along with number 24 Nigel Cromie. And at the moment, we'll update who was the leader, but Paul Kelly in the pits, so that's going to change.
There's Gene there, just coming into the second to last corner here. I think Paul Kelly's still, or he's just coming out of the pit lane now. So Paul Kelly has actually got in front of Gene from the pit stop. So that's an awesome job from that team. So he's holding on to the lead. Now we'll see Gene pushing as hard as he can to see if he can catch back up to Paul. And hopefully have a nice, good fight towards the end there.
This is where the time machine is also going to be updated, chopping and changing the time. As Connor Adam taking over the lead. He's in the pits. Martin Dippy in the pits. Paul Kelly just coming out of the pits. Lachlan Fitzgerald Simons is out of the pits as well. Whoa, 2 guys side by side. That's Steen Harrison in the 78 Aston Martin as Gene Rollinson in the number 5 Porsche cut through around that chicane as Harrison just goes slightly wide.
See, Gene's obviously been held up by quite a bit of lap traffic at the moment. as Paul Kelly, when he came out on the track, he actually had quite a bit of fresh air. So Paul's only got a few cars in front of him, and Gene's got to be fighting as hard as he can to get past these slower GT4 cars so he can get some clear air and just chase as hard as he can.
So it looks like at the moment the fastest of the GT4s is still number 24, the McLaren of Chromie. And also Grant Aiken in there in the top 10, Harrison, and the Aston Martin. There's also the Janettas out there as well. So they'll be having their own private battle. The likes of 58 Steve Scholes. He wanted to do a 1:42. His fastest lap's been a 1:43. So there's number 90, Paul Kelly. Right behind 256, Ben Byers. So they're back in 7th and 8th place now, where they've rejoined after the pit stop. Connor Adam is now out of the pit lane window. And we have a car into the wall here, number 19, Shane Hodgson. So this could bring out an untimely safety car because he's gone in and hit the tyre wall. Bit of damage on that Porsche too, so this is really bad luck for the Carter's tyre car. That looks like the entrance to the bridge. Looks like he's just clipped the old...
Yeah, we'll have to hopefully we've got a replay of that and see what's happened there, because...
Clipped the ripples and glided and bang, missed the bridge altogether, hit the tyre wall.
Yeah, and that's a very high speed part of the track there, so if he hasn't wiped off much speed, I'm sure he's gone into the wall hard there, and it looks like he's feeling a little bit. So, but he's all right, he's out of the car, he's leaning out on the tyres, but he'll be absolutely gutted because they were on for a really good result there.
So this is going to block the field up now. The safety car is going to come out. In fact, looks like they're going to red flag and stop the race because it's going to take a while perhaps to get that Porsche out of the tyre wall, stuck in the kitty litter to the entrance to the bridge. So it's the Rodin cars, Super GT, and thankfully he's okay. Shane Hodgson, he is shaken and stirred, but he's okay talking to the marshal. That's a good sign, but huge disappointment for the Carter's team.
Yeah, he will be absolutely gutted. He obviously had a lot of pace there, and he was fighting for a podium, and I'm sure he would have been battling it out with the other two for the lead, I'm sure.
So now the timing is going to reset because the pit lane window is closed. The safety car is going to be coming out onto the circuit.